Good evening. I'd like to call the June 4th meeting of the Board of Health to order. So the first thing on the agenda is citizen participation. Any citizen participation? Mark?
Aye. Aye. Aye, citizen participator. Oh, wow, we're gonna be on the small screen this time.
Go ahead, Mark.
Okay, that's 49 Hawthorne Road, Ashland, Mass. How's everybody doing on this nice spring night? Okay, doing well. I can tell by the sound of reaction. Okay, everything's going well, no problems. I just wanted to know if are you the new chairman now, Ed?
The next thing on the agenda is the reorg, Mark.
Oh. So you're the reorg, okay. Just wanted to make sure about what's the big deal. Okay, so to then person Ed before reorg. I overheard doing the before we came on here that it's been 7 years that you've been with this board. Right, Ed?
That's Ron. Ron's been on the board for 7 years.
Oh, the Ron. You keep adding the line because I'm talking to Ron. Okay. So Ron, is he still there?
Yeah, he can hear you, Mark.
Okay. Is there the other rumor that this might be after this term is done, that you might be leaving, Ron?
Yeah, I'm done for now, Mark.
Microphone's not on.
Yes. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, Mark. Yeah, he is. He did not rerun.
Oh, good thing in a movie you'd be a rerunner. Okay. That's it.
Thanks,
Done.
Mark. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is the reorganization of the board. Do I have a nomination for chair of the board? Okay, I have a nomination for me. Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Any other nominations? Okay, with that being said, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
That's unanimous. Now I need a nomination for vice chair.
I can nominate. I'd like to to nominate Jay. I think he's done a lot for.
I second that.
Yeah.
Any other nominations for vice chair? Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
See what Jay gets for not being here. And then I need a nomination for the clerk.
I nominate David.
Okay, I'll second that.
Yep.
Any other nominations for clerk?
Nope.
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Unanimous? We have been reorged. Yay! So the next thing on our agenda is the recognition of Ron Exovitz, who is no longer on our board. Will I be able to, should I go to this mic?
Yes.
Oh, yeah.
I can hear you.
Oh, it's already on. So we have a proclamation for you, Ron. Whereas the Ashland Board of Health is a 5-member board elected and entrusted by the community to protect and promote the health, the environment, and the well-being of the town of Ashland residents and visitors, and Dr. Ron Exovitz, a 28-year resident of Ashland, learned of the vacancy of the Board of Health in 2017 and decided, given his medical profession as a physician and surgeon, that he could make a positive difference and give back to the community, and served as chair, vice chair, and member of the Board of Health over the course of 7 years. In addition, Ron served as the medical director for the board, signing the required standing orders allowing for the success of Ashland's vaccination program, also as board liaison to decisions at every turn, and as a physician volunteer for the RAM Clinic, and assisted in the creation of new Board of Health regulations, including body art, groundwater use restrictions, and policies and procedures, and made significant modifications to the tobacco regulation and keeping of animal regulations, and brought to the Board of Health a unique balance of patience, kindness, and compassion, together with fairness, strength, and we, the Board of Health for the town of Ashland, do hereby recognize and honor Dr. Ron for his support and contributions to the community, the Board of Health, and the Health Department. We urge all residents to make known their appreciation for Ron's devotion to the town of Ashland. We wish him good health and good fortune. Oh, we'll be calling. Oh, sorry, and Ron. Sorry, I questioned Ron about the pink bag, but.
This isn't a long read. Oh my God, it's a clock?
It's
that I'm
the
retiring?
Ashland
Is that what it is? The Ashland clock, that's beautiful.
I know you are always on time, but
Beautiful, thank you very much.
Thank you, Ron, for everything.
Appreciate all the kind words. All this stuff in here, we did. You know, we did as a group, you know, led by Raj, led by Mark Oram, you know, led by a lot of, you know, other people, led by all the, you know, people over the years that I've been lucky enough to work with, like Mary Mortensen, you know, who's a legend, obviously her daughter-in-law. KG was the one to actually, you know, get me on this board. The short story is, they were building a subdivision behind us, and they sent out letters to abutters. And I stupidly thought that you could actually go and have a voice. It really just meant that they're telling you that they're going to do this. And I was lucky enough to be able to take a site walk with the Conservation Committee, and Raj and I got to talking, and he said, hey, we could use somebody. And I'd been in the town for a long time, as this alluded to, and I said, sure, why not? And, you know, that's how I started, and, you know, a lot of other people to thank, you know, certainly Mark Oram and Laura that, you know, that run this place, as well as Raj, who's done a great job. What a wonderful man he is. He really cares, and he has really taken the vaccination clinic for the kids that, you know, that are underserved, you know, and really done a heck of a job with that. You know, thousands of vaccines in the last few years that you're in charge of. Ed has a ton to do with that. He's, you know, serves people all the time. That's your life. You're a nurse. You're, you know, an officer. That's what you do. KG has been an integral part of the community for as long as I can remember. You know, only just for a short time when he wasn't in town anymore, he gave it up. But, you know, he's back in his rightful place. And just so you all know, one thing about KG, he's a scientist, and he depends on that scientific method. He's always going to say, give me the data. You're going to hear that almost every meeting. All right, I want the data. Get me this, and then Laura will get him the data. You know, so it's, you guys have a great board, you know, Jay with organizing RAM, and, you know, Barbara and Dave, you know, filling out the group. It's really nice that you've all done this. This is beautiful. I've had certainly some trying times. I remember when my wife, you know, had to come into one of the early meetings and, you know, kind of scold everybody a little bit. But it's been a great experience, and I think I've met a lot of great people, and I think that, you know, people have given more to me than I've given to this, and it's really just it's a great endeavor, and I hope more people in the future can. Will volunteer for these positions, because it can't just be the same people all the time, you know, and it's a really worthwhile thing to do, and the community needs it. And people like, you know, the people that run the board all the time, and you get to meet people like Tom Curran and, you know, John Featherston and all the rest of the people, Chris Daniele. You know, there's so many people that I can't even remember them all, but thank you very much. I appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
And we'll see you in August anyway.
Yeah, that's true. I will see you all in August.
See you in
Thank
August
you so much.
at the RAM clinic.
do you want to take a picture with him, all of us?
Should we get a picture
Why don't you-
real quick? Yeah.
You want Ron to come this side, or you want to go that side?
Next on the agenda is CC Doucette.
Thank you. Are the slides on here and ready to go?
Should just be able to bring it up.
Let me go into the Zoom for a second. Okay, this should work in
On
just a
my
sec.
laptop.
Okay. Thank you so much for inviting me in to talk about wireless risks and safer technology solutions. So my name is CC Doucette, Fatima Drive here in Ashland, and that MTPW just means I had the privilege of earning a master's in technical and professional writing. And I helped Ashland become the first in the United States to even have this little sign hanging in our classrooms with best practices for mobile devices. I also introduced legislation back in 2015. Senator Karen Spilka, our president, introduced a bill to form a commission to investigate the health and environmental impacts of today's wireless technology. And then I co-founded with some partners in Europe a little nonprofit called Wireless Education, and we're just about to relaunch a course that would allow us to train any municipality, any company, any classroom in about a half an hour online. And I have founded Massachusetts for Safe Technology when I connected with people all over the Commonwealth who were becoming sick from today's wireless technology. And it was an honor to speak with Dr. Ron just a moment ago. They have a friend who's having to leave their home because of these man-made energies. So thank you for sharing that. We have a lot of resources out at Massachusetts for Safe Technology, so I invite everybody to look out there. Somebody down at the National Institutes of Health found my work and asked me to co-chair the technology panel for the Health and Buildings Roundtable Conference. I like to share this link, and I've sent you all the slides. We had less than 10 minutes each to speak. We had one of the world's leading scientists. We had the retired president of Microsoft Canada. We had a philanthropist who got both his sons off the autism spectrum by removing these environmental exposures. We had Theodora Scarato from the Environmental Health Trust who talked to us about other countries that are way ahead of the U.S. because they may not have as deep conflicts of interest with industry there. And then one of the major gaps we had when I fell down the rabbit hole in 2013 was that we could see people were starting to develop electromagnetic illnesses, but there was no way to train our healthcare practitioners on how to address this. So we're very fortunate today that we have this EMF medical conference. It was accredited for 24.5 CMEs and CEs for nurses. And that opportunity for credit expired in July, and we've now taken the entire conference and put it online so everybody can be professionally trained to recognize, diagnose, treat, and most importantly, prevent electromagnetic illnesses. So I think what helped Ashland become the first in the nation is to look at the fine print. If anybody today has an iPhone with you, I invite you to take that out, and I'm going to walk you through the legal fine print that's been in there all along. If you go into settings and go down a little ways and hit general, then go to the bottom and hit legal and regulatory. On the next screen, it's right there, RF exposure, radio frequency, man-made microwave radiation that they politely call energy. And in the legal fine print, they give us two good bits of advice. One, they tested this device at a distance from the body. So if you're holding it with 5 or 6 or more antennas for cellular data, Bluetooth, Wi-Fi, locator, hotspot, you're getting radiated from each one in excess of the FCC or Federal Communication Guidelines for public radiation exposure. And as we'll see in a moment, the FCC has now been sued for ignoring 11,000 pages of evidence of harm. A little further down in the fine print, it says to reduce your exposure, once you know, basically don't touch something that's radiating, they say to use a hands-free option. Okay, so that's been in there all along. And we also, with great thanks to the select board here in Ashland, became the first in the nation to pilot putting a radio frequency detection meter on loan in our public library. And that has now become a national model. Sunderland just got one this last month. Pittsfield has one. Belmont and a few others have already put radio frequency detection meters in their collection of Library of Things items. So I want to give you a live demonstration because this is an invisible exposure. How do we even know what levels we're exposed to? So right here in this room, because we have wireless and people have their devices, we are at 3,500 microwatts per square meter. In the scientific literature, they ask that we try and be at 10 or less indoors, not 10,000, but 10. But I want to show you what happens when I take my cell phone out of airplane mode and all those antennas come online and the radiation kicks in. Now, it's not just cell phones, it's laptops, it's tablets, it's wearables, it's everything. So we were just at like 3,500. We just went up to 632,000 microwatts per square meter, and we want to be at 10 or less. And this is what we've done to ourselves and to our children unwittingly because we didn't know any better. But once we know better, we can do better. So let's go ahead and look at the science. Okay. First, we're going to look at the long-term effects, and then we're going to look at the short-term effects. And some people say, well, I don't see anything credible in mainstream media or mainstream journals. You need to look at the journals with the real scientists who are doing this work. There are major conflicts of interest, even with some of the more popular publications. Child and adult cancers. The U.S. National Toxicology Program is the gold standard on cancers research. They completed a 20-year, $30 million study that concluded clear evidence of cancerous tumors and DNA damage. Clear evidence is the highest of 5 categories they can assign. The industry will spin it, say, oh, that's just one study, you need more. Well, right on the heels of ours, the Ramazzini Institute in Italy completed another multi-million-dollar study on cell tower base stations. And the WHO, back in 2011, when they classified this as a 2B possible human carcinogen, we're careful to say it doesn't matter where it's coming from. It's the radio frequency that's doing the harm. They found the same findings in Italy. DNA damage, which is our roadmap to grow a proper anything. Infertility, these are the studies that got me on my feet when I started reading the science. They've taken male human sperm and exposed it to a laptop with the antennas radiating. It changed the DNA. It caused far fewer sperm to be viable, and it started apoptosis or programmed cell death, 4 hours of exposure from a laptop. And now we have more. Kaiser Permanente did an excellent study on higher miscarriage rates for women who are using radio frequency devices. And then neurotoxicity. With ADHD, Dr. Hugh Taylor, who heads up OB/GYN at Yale, he did rodent studies because it's unethical to do this on humans. He did the rodent studies and exposed pregnant mice, and the end result was when the pups came out, they were bouncing off the walls of the cage, much like a child with ADD, ADHD. Dr. Martha Herbert founded the Autism Lab at Mass General. She's a Harvard pediatric neurologist. Huge connections between exposing our children and now adults to radio frequency and what she sees in her autism practice. Dr. Martin Paul has culled the science on Alzheimer's It used to be in our 90s or 80s. Now it's in our 70s, 60s, 50s, 40s, 30s, and even in some rare cases, people in their 20s. We cannot continue to pollute the environment of the brain with radio frequency and expect to have normal outcomes. When Claudia and David's wife, Brandy, were talking at the select board, they were saying, well, we don't see much in mainstream. Environmental Working Group has come very mainstream. They put out their Dirty Dozen and Clean 15 on pesticide toxins. They now have a PhD on staff who's doing this reporting on radio frequency. 2 of their fact sheets are shown there. One is trying to protect children from radiation in our homes and schools, and the other is on the neurotoxicity. So we're very grateful. And then we have to really look at our children. You guys, being on a Board of Health, know that they are especially vulnerable to environmental exposures. And Dr. Om Gandhi modeled how much radiation comes into your brain and mine with our fully formed skulls and brains. It's about 1/3 of the way into our brain. On a 10-year-old, it's 2/3 of the way in, and on a 5-year-old, it's almost the entire brain that's getting radiated. So we've got to start protecting our children. And we can't wait for higher authorities. Industry has a lock on them. So with the short-term effects, time and again when I do an educational webinar, people come back and say, I didn't want to know it. I didn't want to hear it because I live on my devices, but I recognized a lot of these symptoms. And we should know that the ADA has recognized these symptoms for almost 20 years. JAN, the Jobs Area Network, already offers accommodations for electrical sensitivity. Insomnia. So those of you in healthcare know that we are biologically light beings. We operate on a 24-hour circadian rhythm. In the wee hour of darkness, our brain will release melatonin that goes in and regulates our sleep and helps to do the cell repair and cleanup from the day's daily toxins. The brain, unfortunately, cannot distinguish between this man-made light energy form pulsating at us all night and natural daylight. So the brain's over there going, when's it going to get dark so I can properly release the melatonin? So we know many mechanisms of harm today that the industry for years said, oh, no mechanism of harm, let's just keep doing it. We know many mechanisms of harm, and that insomnia, kids, teenagers, sleep is what they always did best, and today so many kids don't sleep right anymore. Headaches, stabbing, searing headaches, migraines, nosebleeds, ear bleeds, chronic fatigue, pain from unidentified sources, and we know one of the mechanisms of harm here. There's something called the rouleau formation. Our red blood cells are meant to be free-floating and bringing oxygen to all of our cells. And when you look under a microscope before and after radio frequency emissions, before you have these nicely shaped red blood cells that go where they need to go. When you radiate them, they start looking like a bottle cap, and because it's magnetized, electromagnetic fields, they start glomming together and forming this rouleau formation chain that then can't bring oxygen to all of your cells and your organs. So oxidative stress, which is a precursor to most illnesses. And this is all so well documented in the science if we know where to look for it. Skin abnormalities, heating, flushing, rashes. A lot of people talk about the hot ear, tingling, nerve damage, heartbeats that go too fast or too slow, tachycardia, AFib, arrhythmias. We are biologically operating off of these little whispers of electrical circuitry all day and night, and this man-made energy overpowers our own circuitry. Cognitive impairment, anger and behavior issues, anxiety, depression, suicidal ideation. We were already at epidemic levels before the pandemic. And what did we do? We gave every child a wireless tablet to go home and access their education, many with unfettered access because mom and dad were trying to work, and we didn't give them one shred of safety instruction. And at the EMF medical conference, it was heartbreaking to hear them say, if we don't get ahead of this, this is changing the gray matter and the white matter of the brain where executive function resides. And if we don't stop radiating our brains, we can expect many more of these societal outbursts that have been increasing in recent years with shootings and when the kids went back to school with their Chromebooks. 3 different stories were on the news about 3 different schools in Boston about the kids wailing on each other out of anger with their Chromebooks. So we've got to use technology safely. My big missing piece was, why don't we know? If I can pick up the science and read it, why don't we know and who's got our backs? Well, in 2015, Harvard's Law School Center for Ethics came out with this 59-page captured agency report that says the FDA and the FCC are captured by industry and they're not going to protect us. We have got to do it at the local level. Notice the revolving door on their report. That's what many of our federal agencies have become. Now, Linda Birnbaum has retired, Dr. Linda Birnbaum from NIEHS, National Institutes of Environmental Health Sciences. She said, yeah, we have a lot of industry capture, but there are some really good people up there. But we, at the state and local level, have to empower them to do their jobs. Otherwise, industry just runs roughshod on them, and they get their way. And our kids are taking the brunt of it. ProPublica did a good article. These conflicts of interest go all the way up to the World Health Organization. There are 2 groups there that address EMFs. One is heavily industry-backed, and it looks like they've gotten a hold of this new investigation now that we know it's cancerous. So industry's going to do what they do, and we're going to be left with sicker and sicker kids. So I'll go through quickly. You and I have full control over all the devices under our control. Here in Ashland, Eversource is who puts our utility meters on our homes. They are about to roll out smart meters. And these pulse microwave radiation, thousands and thousands of time into our living space, and many people get really sick. That was another warning from the medical conference. When these smart meters go in, their caseload goes up of microwave sickness. So I'll let you read through this. There's so many reasons why a smart meter is a bad idea. All they have to do is hardwire it to the house and not use radio frequency. Chattanooga, Tennessee is already piloting that. For those of you who are in the medical field, Jeremy Johnson is an engineer in Silicon Valley. A smart meter bank went in on their condo, and his medical wife could not figure out what was going on. She's a doctor. They both got really sick. Dr. Alexia McKnight is a large animal radiologist, a veterinarian radiologist, and she got so sick from the smart meter on their home that she was out in traffic with her daughter in the car and could not remember if that green light meant stop or go. That's how neurologically damaged and how quickly it can cause that damage. So cell towers, I know, David, you had said that you're within line of sight of a cell tower. If you look at the non-industry funded studies epidemiologically, they are suggesting a minimum of 500 meters, which is 1,640 feet. That's where the death curve and the neurotoxicity curve starts to come down. It doesn't actually catch up with population statistics till double that. So for vulnerable populations, the elderly, children, fetuses, pregnant women, and anybody with an existing health condition, they recommend at least a half a mile distance. And again, as Dr. Rob Brown mentioned at the Select Board public forum on this, we're all biologically different. You might have a stronger immune system. You might have a genetic proclivity. Every body is going to respond differently to this radiation, but it is cumulative over time. You might be feeling just dandy today, and tomorrow you might start crashing like Ron's poor friend did, who has to now leave her home. So look at the industry-funded science, and you can go to antennasearch.com, and it'll run you a report on any address in the U.S. to show how many antennas and towers do you have in a 3-mile radius. It's not good, folks. And 5G small cells, that's using an additional set of frequencies on top of the toxic 3G and 4G that we already had. So you can go through and look at this more carefully on your own time. Senator Richard Blumenthal called out industry in a commerce hearing, and they were made to say, we didn't do any testing. And he says, we're basically flying blind here as far as health and safety are concerned. And now Computer World and others are saying 5G is a bad joke. It's a big marketing ploy, and we're not even getting faster speeds. So we need to be wise. But this is what brought me back to the podium. I went to the open house at Mendez, and this is what I found. Our goal, again, is to be at 10 microwatts per square meter or less of this radiation. And that figure is taken from the European Academy of Environmental Medicine, which this link on page 381 will show you the science that dictates that we should be indoors at 10 or less. It was great in the parking lot in the courtyard. 9, 18, that's still pretty green. For outdoor exposures, we want to be at 1,000 or less. So that was really good because we have not allowed cell towers on our schools. In the gym where they have a tall ceiling like this, I was getting a reading of 3,200. In the art room, 20,000. In the library, 28,000. Classrooms, now mind you, this was on a Saturday, no children, no devices, just the infrastructure. 26,000 to 42,000. And what do you think is going to happen when 20 kids fire up their laptops or their tablets that are not connected through a wire with the antennas turned off? The hallway right outside Miss Kamen's room, 71,000. And she has a router inside the classroom. Outside the principal's office where they have a drop ceiling, 116,000 microwatts per square meter, and we want to be at 10 or less. So Martin Luther King Jr. taught us that when we make important changes in society, it comes through 3 channels. 1, the public learns and gets engaged, and that's what we're hoping to work toward today. It goes through the courts, and then public policy finally catches up. Lots of really good things happening, but here's the bottom line. For your own technology consumption, keep your tech, but get rid of the radiation. You will get a far stronger signal, faster, more reliable. Just hook it back up with an Ethernet cable. You can buy a $30 adapter for the devices. I used to run the Ashland Education Foundation. I revived it after it went defunct. I ran campaign after campaign to get wireless into our schools. I know we could do fundraising to just get the little dongles to see what we need. So you can hook up multiple devices with a little switch and then just go into each one and turn off the antennas. And then you really do have to measure, because with the Internet of Things, they're forecasting all of us are going to have 200 wireless devices in our homes, all pulsating us with microwave radiation. So measuring is critical. So quickly, legal solutions. The FCC has now been sued for ignoring 11,000 pages of evidence of harm. The courts found them arbitrary and capricious, meaning they didn't look at the public record. They just made it up and said, oh, we're going to stick with our 1996 guidelines for radiation. The Face School next door, for the first time in the United States, when a little boy got so sick in there that he could not be in the school, the courts recognized that there are biological effects, and you don't have to have heat from a device to have harm. We have FCC limits with heat way up here. The science is showing that harm hundreds of thousands of times below that, and there are lawsuits happening all over the country. But again, we don't hear about any of this because mainstream media is owned by the wireless industry and their parent companies. So we're left in the dark. But words of encouragement for a Board of Health. If you look at the legal handbook for Massachusetts Boards of Health, they've already got 4 pages in there on cell towers. And out in Pittsfield, Verizon put a cell tower up on top of a neighborhood that made 17 children and adults so sick they had to abandon their homes. The Board of Health determined they were uninhabitable. They investigated, the Board of Health, and they documented the harm. They got physicians, diagnoses of electromagnetic radiation sicknesses. They spoke to world-leading scientists, and they brought in the industry. And the PhD physicist that they bring in, this Dr. Eric Swanson, looks good when you hear he's Dr. Swanson. He has never published one paper on the biological effects of radio frequency, so they totally discredited him. But with this lawsuit out in Pittsfield, Verizon, instead of coming to the table and being a good corporate citizen, there's somebody there who said, we have a commercial property, move the cell tower here, we don't care. Verizon would not come to the table. They put an injunction against the Board of Health for wanting to do their job, and now there's a lawsuit suing the Board of Health, the town of Pittsfield, the mayor, for not allowing them to protect the kids. So we're waiting to hear any day now if that injunction's going to be removed. And this is going to be groundbreaking if it is, because that empowers you to do your duty legally. If there's a nuisance or something causing harm in the environment or to the populace, it is your duty of care to remedy that, and this looks like it's going to open the door for that. So, and the Massachusetts Association of Health Boards has made that determination. It doesn't matter what the Telecom Act says. Once they put something toxic in the community, you guys are in charge. And Mike Hugo and the director there, they sent in this amicus brief to support the Board of Health and the sick citizens. So lots of good things are happening, but you guys probably don't ever hear about it, right? And then policy. We helped New Hampshire pass the first law in the country. They spent an entire year during the pandemic investigating why do Lloyd's of London and Swiss Re and others already have a disclaimer saying they don't offer coverage for wireless radiation harm because they know it's a world-leading risk. Why do we have that legal fine print? Why is the FCC dropping the ball here? And why do we allow 100 times more exposure to our citizens in certain other countries? And why is nobody looking at the cumulative effect of putting a child in a classroom with a developing body with all this radiation? So they came out, they documented it all, the corruption with the FCC and the FDA and the industry, and made 15 recommendations. One of them is to get wireless out of the schools, educate the public, label everything that's radiating, and get our federal delegates back on this. I just met with Congressman Jim McGovern on Friday, and I gave him one of my meters to borrow for the week. So I'm going to pick it up from him this week, and I'm going to leave you guys with this, and I really hope you will take it home and start measuring. That's the only way, is to get the data, as KG is so fond of. You don't know because it's invisible, but we have all this highly credible information. We've got 6 bills in Massachusetts. I've had this one for the schools since 2014, 15. And every time, I'm sure industry's doing what they do in the back rooms. But states all over the country are introducing legislation. And towns are taking, Burlington did a groundbreaking small cell policy that is now used all over the country. And they said, you can't just drop and run with this equipment. You got to come back and recertify every year. And they withdrew their applications. They don't want to spend money recertifying safety. And so people all over the country are on this, but we just never hear about it. It was a grandmother in Connecticut who figured out 5G, went to her health board where a doctor served. He looked at the science and said, we need to put a moratorium on this. And they have re-upped that moratorium a couple of times. Stamford, Connecticut just rejected this deal that industry had struck up with the governor to start putting 5G cell towers inside the neighborhood on the light poles. They got educated and said, no way. It's happening all over the country. So we can't just sit here and expect somebody else to fix this. Great things happening. Netherlands and Finland are taking tech out of the classroom. It is not improving education outcomes. We got sold a bill of goods with that 21st century classroom. New York Times did an expose. Silicon Valley executives are sending their kids to schools with no tech. And we have a full toolkit called Tech Safe Schools, a national program to help our schools transition to safe technology. We have curriculum. I did professional development with Dr. Alexia McKnight, who got so sick from her smart meter. We've got it all. We just need to get on our feet and start protecting our kiddos. Maryland, their state level has already recommended hardwiring the schools. So we have so many resources today if we individually take the time to get educated. Now, for our healthcare practitioners, I'll wrap up in just a second.
Because I want them, if in case any board members, because we have a public hearing
Okay.
that we're late for now.
Okay.
And just in case anybody
Well,
has any quick questions.
let me just show you this. So Abbott Labs, and I believe Mr. Kinsman has worked with Abbott Labs, they sell products using radio frequency to change one's biology. So we know this has biological effects, and we can do wonderful things in a controlled medical setting. But this way that we're just blasting it out everywhere is out of control, and people are getting sick. The first medical school textbook has now been published, and the environmental health nurses have put out their second edition of their textbook. You can download that for free online, and they have a chapter in there on electromagnetic fields. So incredible resources for any profession, and again, you guys can look at this on your own time. But next steps, measure, and I'll leave you the meter, and let's get on it, you guys. Let's not wait. There's nothing legally prohibiting you from protecting the children of Ashland. We know how to do it. It's not expensive and it's not hard. Let's do education forums. I was brought in by a board of health out in Lenox and Lee, and the select board at Hats. So lots we can do if we stop waiting for somebody else to fix this for us, okay? So thank you, and I'd be honored to answer any questions.
Thank you, Cece. Does anybody from the board have any questions?
Just want you to send me that Pittsfield case information, that's
Yeah.
all. Thank you.
All of these links are available in the slides that I sent to you today,
Okay.
so you've got it in your inbox,
Thank you.
okay?
Thank you, Cece.
All right. So what I'd like to leave you with is the radio frequency detection meter, and I really do hope every single one of you will take it and get your data. That's the only way you're ever going to know. And play with it. Play with your device. Turn off all the antennas and then turn them on one by one and see what happens, right? I'm going to leave you with the EMF Medical Conference. You can take this training for free, half an hour at a time on your own time. So
If you can leave that with Laura, that'd be great. Thank you, Cece.
So what should I do for next steps with this board?
I mean, I think at this point, we have to just look at the data ourselves and,
Yeah, and also I believe the state is looking at things. Do you have any update on it? And let's send us that update through email so that we will know where the state is standing. If the state is taking action, then we don't have to do it anymore other than this, follow the state's regulations.
but
So
my
I
hunch
think
is
that's
industry
where,
will-
where one needs to put in a concentration so that you have
Yeah.
a larger population getting benefit than one single town.
Right, but it has to start somewhere. You know, just like with
that's-
putting the
that-
meter on loan at the library, just like Burlington and their small cell policy. Let's be the first in Ashland to really protect our kids.
Right, I understand,
Right?
but if you can update with us
Yeah.
through an email on whatever's happening with the state,
Right.
that will tell us where we stand, and we can probably put more pressure on the state.
Okay. But yeah, reach out to Mike and reach out to the health authorities at the state level and say, we're interested. What can we do? Okay.
Sure, thank you.
All right, thank you.
thank you. Do we have to unshare that screen, Laura? There we go. Okay, so the next thing on the agenda is the Family Dollar tobacco sale to a minor. Raj, do you want to start?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So we have Family Dollar, we have the manager from Family Dollar, this location, and we have attorney who have joined us online. So this is Family Dollar's second sale within 36 months. The first sale was last month when they was fined for $1,000, and last year, right? Yes. And this is the second sale within that 36 months period, and this time they are fined $2,000, and the permit is suspended right now for 14 days. So, and if board have any questions for them, please.
Yeah, so who's the manager? I'm sorry.
She's the manager. I'm an assistant store manager.
Can you come up to the mic? Thanks.
I'm Jeff Owen. I'm an assistant store manager. I just came back after a 2-year hiatus. I quit in 2020. When I came back in 2023, we were going through a really bad transition. We couldn't keep managers. Nobody was trained properly. That was actually during that first hit. The cashiers are what I call throwaway cashiers. They were untrained people that were just in the store. They were never brought through a training program. They didn't know what the first thing they were doing. I learned that when I came back. I was trying to walk them through steps to train them in the correct way. The first hit came before I was able to get through everyone. I was there for the hit. I was working, but I had talked to the store manager at that time to try to inform her about the training courses that we have on the computer, which she didn't even know about at that time. We do have a training program that all cashiers are supposed to be going through, which we are currently, Esther, the store manager, has been promoting through all our cashiers as of late. All I can say is the first one was, like I said, a throwaway cashier that didn't know high or low what they were doing. This cashier definitely made a mistake. I believe the company's taking actions against that cashier. We've all been trained since that first hit. I would say is us as managers are doing our best to inform and continue to drill into the cashiers, check everyone. I believe, Dave, I see you in the store from time to time. David, I believe I've seen you in the store from time to time. Raj, I've seen you in the store. You guys all know me or have met me at some point in time, I'm sure. Our store is in a good spot. We're trying to keep it that way. In our defense, mistakes do happen, severe ones. This is definitely a big hit. I understand the first hit. I kind of make a joke that I don't count that one because the people weren't trained. They didn't know what they were doing. They didn't have anybody to show them the way. I'm not sure if you guys know about the period of time when the stores weren't even being open during the day for several times. And that's because they were hiring people that didn't know their job. That was the first hit. So I feel bad, but there was like no sense of responsibility at that first connection. And I feel like I can't say strike it because it happened, but the first hit was with untrained people that didn't know what they were doing. This one was with a trained person, and we're taking the actions to make sure it doesn't happen again.
Does your point of sale machine like ask for
Yes.
date of birth?
Yes, it does.
So how did that happen then? If it's prompting the cashier?
We're supposed to view the ID and type in we can scan it, which I've tried it. The scan never works for me. Never has. I don't think it ever will. But we are able to scan the back of a license and the date of birth should pop up. For me, where that doesn't work, if it's somebody I know, somebody's ID that I've already checked, I type in their birthday from my memory. People that I've checked several times. Well, it's only people I've already checked. If I've checked you, you come in, you buy a pack, I ask for your ID, you come in 2 days later, I've already checked your ID. I know you're old enough, I already verified it. I will only do that to people that I've already verified.
But what's your store policy?
Store policies check everyone every time.
There you go. So,
Check everyone every time.
So that's what we need.
And that's what I
Regardless,
drill into
don't
all
care-
the cashiers.
I don't care if you know them or not. They have to be checked every single time.
Okay.
Because I will guarantee you, if you do not do that, you're going to have a third offense. Guaranteed.
If the leader doesn't follow, the subsequent employees will also
The
follow
cashiers
you.
will
not
also
the-
won't.
The leaders have to follow the rules, whatever they laid down. If they don't follow it, the subordinates will not follow that. Typically, the leader doesn't follow it. So you need to make sure that don't depend on your memory, but work on with license plate that we have. I have a question. I don't know between last time
Excuse
that I
me,
was
may I
here
be
in the
heard
board
on
now.
behalf of Family Dollar?
Hold on. Go ahead, sir.
Hi, my name is Nicholas Melito. I'm outside counsel for Family Dollar. I just want to expand upon what our assistant store manager said today. First of all, on behalf of the company, we do apologize. We obviously failed, and that's a mistake we're going to correct. I've spoken to the compliance department today, and I've spoken to the zone VP. There is an investigation being conducted. They're going to check the systems. Obviously, there was a problem with both training this person and the way our checkout system works. We have a zero tolerance policy for this, so all the store employees are going to be retrained this month. HR is investigating the associate who conducted the sale, and they'll make their own determination of how that person should be treated. We have already processed a check request to pay the fine, so you should be receiving that within the next few days. We've already put in place the 14-day hold on any sale of tobacco products. Our goal is not to let this happen again and to obviously do better. To that extent, anything that you can provide us in terms of guidance that you'd like to see or such, we'd be happy to entertain that.
So I think what's really important for us, we never want to hurt a business in town, especially financially. But we also can't have tobacco sold to our minors, point blank, and where there was already one violation. The concerning part for us is that how did this happen if you have technology in place to prevent this? Again, hopefully it's never going to happen again, and we hope that the training will continue, because obviously there will be additional compliance checks.
And Mr. Chair, I just want to add a couple of things here, so there was a training, training session that was done almost 3-4 months before this. Our inspector went to all of our 17 locations, training all of our vendors on this. Other thing I want to point out, now, when they had the last sale, right, they had one more sale before that in 2020 that fell within that 36 months, so this is technically their third within these 4 years, so that's what I want to point out. Last time we didn't count in 2020 because of the new regulation, but this is technically their third within that span of like 4 years now, so I just want to point out that. But we do every year, we do those training sessions for all of our vendors,
We have only about 18 of the vendors now, or 17?
Would you be able to put me in touch with that person?
Which 17? 17. Because we dropped off one, but I know. The question that I have is, I know that the food vendors, we do have a form that we fill out every year that who is certified, who is not certified, how many hours are full-time, part-time. We don't have a similar form for these where people are trained for this aspect. Maybe we need to introduce and tell them, so that makes a reminder for every year for them to fill it out and provide it. So the managers or the branch
we can
leader
definitely
would probably be reminded that there needs to be some training. So we need to probably fill out and fill the form.
Is the training a PowerPoint, or what is it?
It's a program, a training program. The company provides an iLearn program in which it trains us on all sorts of different things, including tobacco sales, cash management, workplace violence, which is actually we just all completed. If something happens in the store, how do you approach it and stuff like that.
And then you, as the managers, are you able to run a report so that you can verify that people have taken the trainings?
Yes, there is a report generated. It goes to the store manager. Anybody that doesn't fill it out, she is notified, and then she makes sure that they get on it and complete the training.
Right. I think, one of the things that, if you could guarantee us that when you're hiring new people, especially, that this is like one of their first trainings before they're allowed to start ringing the register. That way we can be assured that they've had that training on tobacco compliance.
Actually, if I'm not mistaken, that is Family Dollar's policy, is that they're not supposed to be running a register until they've done that training.
Right.
Is that correct? I believe
Yes.
I believe that when I first started in 2017, I wasn't allowed to even run the register until I had gone through the training program for tobacco sales, because at that time it was so vital. And obviously, a lot of minors at the time were in 2017 trying to get that.
And I just want to reiterate, we don't want to hurt a business, but we still have to make sure that our regulations are followed.
Oh yeah.
So we don't have a choice about whether the regulations are followed. So your next offense will cost you 36 months worth of business. The question you need to ask yourself is a little bit of extra time during the checkout worth going through the procedure using the technology that you have, scanning the person's license to verify that they are of age to buy the tobacco product? You're the assistant manager, you're the manager. I strongly suggest that whenever you're at the register, that's what you're doing. You tell your employees and show them that that's what they're supposed to do. I go to Main Street Liquors about once a week. They check my ID every single time using that technology. I do not look like I am under 21, but they still do it because they know it will cost them if they don't.
Sorry, does anybody have anything else? So hopefully we will not see you here again. Maybe we'll only see you at the store. Please reach out to Raj or Laura if you have any questions. They're here every day. Or if there's a question you need them to answer or what have you, so that this just doesn't happen again. They are very versed in all the regulations.
Okay.
I want to thank your attorney for coming on also.
Thank you.
Great.
Thank you.
Thank you very much for coming in. So the next thing on the agenda is the 61 Waverly Street, the 40B development. Are you going to talk about that, Raj, or?
So, Mr. Chair, this is the second 40V development we have that the town got notified. Besides that, 1050 Main Street. So, this was last month. I was on site when we went for the site visit. And Mr. Manager have asked if there are any comments from different boards. And now I know Mr. KG have provided me his list, and I've given you copies, everybody. And if you have, anybody else have any comments, the only comment I had, from my visit is just this development is right across from a business, that they haul a lot of stone and all that, so it can be a potential noise problem for the residents, so I just want the development to look at that, but other than that, if you have any questions, please let me know.
So can you make sure the town manager has KG's list of concerns?
Absolutely, I'm gonna send that to him.
Yeah, but I looked at only that site plan, but there are probably other documents which I haven't looked at. It maybe some of these are already answered, but I
Sure.
thought just potentially look at these things and then maybe
Right.
they can address it. We have no answers, but the developer has to tell us what is possible, what is not
Right.
possible.
Okay, so yeah, so Raj, if you can make sure the town manager
Some
has
of
a
the
copy
issues,
of that.
some of the issues concern the water resources that we have and the cost for others, and then wastewater disposal, about the recreation facilities for the children, all of these things. And also the traffic is a big issue because both 135 and the East Union, both are busy streets.
That's correct.
If more of these developments come in and they have only one egress, everything goes through one road for them.
Right,
And then because this road gets clogged, everybody tries to go on the East Union.
right,
And we have the safety building next door.
Right.
And they have to have access to it, and these are not multi-lane roads, they're short roads.
right.
And the emergency vehicles needs to reach the needy ones in a short duration. Is that possible? That's what we need to look at.
Right. I think one of my concerns, too, is, how many children is this gonna add to our current schools, where we have a couple of our school buildings are nearing capacity now, where we've already added on modular units to Warren School? How are we gonna be able to absorb?
That'll congest, and then the atmosphere is not
Right.
healthy for these children.
Right, right. So if we could just add on there, maybe the impact to the schools?
Sure.
Anybody else? That it? All right, so the next thing on the agenda is for Jay, was the RAM clinic, so I can give a quick update on that one. I just want to remind everybody that the RAM clinic is August 10th and 11th, and we are still in significant need of volunteers, both physicians, dentists, we need nurses, medical assistants. We even need non-clinical people to help us. If anybody is available to help, please go to RAM USA's website and sign up as a volunteer. Myself and Jay and David, we can log in and we can see how many volunteers we have. You can volunteer one day or both days. We need registration people, and we desperately need interpreters. So if you're able to follow a patient through the clinic from registration till the end, helping us interpret for anybody that doesn't speak English, we definitely know we need Portuguese, we need Spanish, Haitian Creole we need, and anybody else is certainly welcome if you could help us with interpretation. Again, RAM USA's website is where you sign up, and also gives you contact information if you have any questions.
I have a couple of questions for you.
Oh, great.
Actually, if
One.
I can,
Sure.
just because, so one of the particular needs as far as volunteers, and I don't think Ed mentioned it, was eye care professionals, so optometrists, ophthalmologists, and the other one that I can't remember right now. But I wanted to make sure to mention that.
Last time, I think they had a on-site denture guy or a dentist who was making it. Is he coming in this time?
So I don't know if he's coming again yet this year. Last year, we didn't find out till a few weeks before that he was going to be available. But hopefully, even if somebody comes and that gentleman's not there, we'll be able to have some referral sources. Also, if you're a practitioner, that if you can't help with the event, but if you're willing to help us with 1 or 2 patients' follow-up, whether it's eye care, dentistry, podiatry, whatever, that we could refer you to, please reach out to us. You can reach out to Laura. She can create a list of people that are willing to take people as a follow-up. Even if you can only take one person as a follow-up, we'd be glad to have you help us.
All of these physicians are insured through...
Yes, so
okay, they're
RAM,
not-
RAM will insure through their malpractice for the weekend for helping us, yes.
And when you say interpreters, do you allow tele-interpreters, people who can stand up on the Zoom and then interpret that for you? Do you want to do that?
We'd prefer to have live.
Right.
Because it's better for the patient. But if not, we would go through a screen type thing.
There's a couple of doctors I know who speak different languages, but they're not in this town, so...
If they're available and we have somebody that speaks their language, that would
Okay.
be great.
All
We
right.
did do that with a couple of people last year.
Sure, okay.
Yep. And we're anticipating, I would say, anywhere between, 300 to 400 patients a day?
Okay.
That's what we did last year.
Okay.
Yep. Also, there will be a vaccine clinic for children, anybody that's uninsured or underinsured. And one of the reasons that we are having the vaccine clinic there is so that any child that's trying to get into school in the fall will be able to have their vaccines.
Okay. So you probably need pediatricians too.
We need whatever.
Okay.
We'll take anybody.
Let me chase them.
Perfect.
Thank you.
Again, they just sign up at the RAM USA's website as a volunteer, and they pick what their profession is. Yep. Raj, you're up next.
Thank you, sir. So the first update on Hanto Restaurant, as Mr. Chair, Mr. Berman asked me to accompany the consultant. This was on May 23rd that we did an inspection together. And I did get a report from the consultant today, Mr. Patil from Boston Food Consulting. He was the one who came there. And the report we get today is clear. There was a couple of items that need to be addressed. Mr. Raymond have emailed me in between that he have addressed those, And we'll keep an eye. I guess he have hired the consultant for 3 months, so should be 3 reports coming our way. The first one is already in. Other update on Los Cobos, that's going through change of ownership, and 272 Pond LLC, that previously it was All Town, also went through new ownership. So All Town, the 272 Pond is already through. The new owners, we have granted them permits. Los Cobos, we're still working on that. Madras Market, before COVID or during COVID, around COVID, they converted into retail store, but they are now going back to a full restaurant. So they have submitted us a floor plan, an application that we have approved, and it's with the building commissioner now to approve that. Mill Pond Rest Home, 84 Myrtle Street, there was some sort of petroleum release while they was removing a underground tank. This was a couple of months back, DEP is involved in that. They have asked for a report that we got, but DEP further asked for some more testing that they came in, I guess, last week and did the mitigation and taken the new samples that we are waiting on the report now. With our housing cases, still a couple of pending cases with at the Chestnut Place Apartments. It's under new management. Occasionally, they do send me pictures from their dumpster area that the board have asked when they was in front of board. Cirrus Apartments, all our pending cases are resolved now. They have paid all the violation fines that we have sent it to them. That's all paid, so we are all set for right now with Cirrus Apartments. 137 Pond Street is still with the Attorney General's office. I'll update the board as soon as I have anything from them. And 213 Trailside also have no update. They are doing the repairs. And last, I guess it's a month or so more, the occupant have moved out, so they're doing the repairs there. With disease investigations, we have 2 active TB cases that we are investigating right now. The last one with our flu and COVID clinics for the fall, I booked every other week, every other Tuesday for flu and fall flu clinics, for the coming fall with the Pine Hill Pharmacy. Couple of other updates, and our new nurse is now started with the Wednesday clinics we have, and once it gets to a speed, we'll add probably Thursday for our childhood vaccine clinic, given Anne is with us for 19 hours a week now. A couple of more updates that are not here that has come after the agenda was posted. 2 of our beaches are closed right now. That is the Hopkinton Upper Beach and the Main Beach. This happened today, actually. So this is because of the bacterial accidents that they have closed the beach. And one more thing I want to notify, and I have sent you that email that besides Family Dollar, we had 2 more tobacco violations. One was at Easy Convenience, 67 Pond Street, and the other one was that 272 Pond LLC, the new owners. So we had 2 more violations here, and we'll be bringing them in front of board next meeting.
Okay. Did you say the Ashland State Park is also, beach is also closed?
So the Hopkinton ones, the Ashland Reservoir is open, but the Hopkinton Upper and the Main Beach is closed right now. And that's all I have, sir.
All right, so the next thing on the agenda is the consent agenda. Actually, I should have asked, does anybody else have any other questions?
Yes, please, and I'm
Yeah.
open, please.
Nothing? Okay, all right, so the next thing on the agenda is the consent agenda, and one of the things we are doing is we're re-voting the minutes from the April 2nd meeting because Jay wanted some things changed in that. Do I have a motion?
For you to
Yeah.
put that as a consent agenda, because I cannot vote on that. So either it has to be outside or I don't participate in the consent agenda.
Right, you'd have to abstain till the next meeting, right, yeah. All right, so do I have a motion to approve the consent agenda?
Okay, all right. Go ahead.
I make a motion to approve the consent agenda as written.
And I can second that. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
And we have the 1 abstention. Okay, great. So our next meeting date is going to be June 18th. Is that correct?
Yes, sir, and I have put a question mark next to it because 19th is the holiday. And, usually at this time, I guess, July, August, we do only 1 meeting, but
Okay.
I'll leave it to the board, but if people are traveling or anything,
So why don't we do this? If there's not a lot for another June meeting, is everyone okay with holding off till July if there's nothing pressing?
Right, but maybe you could make that decision a week later, maybe you can.
Sure.
I will definitely reach out to board,
Yeah.
We
Yeah.
could do that.
We
And-
could do
and
that.
Is that going to be on Zoom? I'm definitely going to be out of town, I know that.
That's
Yeah.
correct. So, and that's why I particularly put a question mark, because 19th is the holiday because of the Juneteenth,
Right.
And I just want to make sure the board is available for the meeting, the members. So, but I will definitely reach out, as I have, as we're closer to the meeting and we have a good agenda, so.
Sure, that's good. Yeah.
And hopefully the July one won't fall around 4th of July.
Let me look at that.
Well, if we go to the second week in July,
Yeah,
then we should be good.
should be okay.
What's the second week? That would be so if we do the second week in July would be the 9th,
Okay, that
the
should be
9th
good.
of July.
And you're right, so it's falling on the
It's the fourth.
second, so,
Yeah.
but we can have a conversation with the board, so I'll touch base,
Yeah.
Anybody have any new items or anything they want to bring up? If that being said, I make an motion to adjourn.
So moved.
That was
That was
quick.
quick.
Do I have a second?
I'll second it.
Second, all in favor?
Aye.
And we are adjourned. Thank you, everybody.